Finance Minister Seth Terkper says funding has been secured for 123 of the 200 community senior high schools that really National Democratic Congress promised, assuring that that promise still holds. The Finance Minister in the 2015 budget also stated that the National Health Insurance Act will be amended to conform to the new provisions. The minority members in Parliament are, however, not impressed and have described government's promises on health and education in the budget presented on Wednesday as a recycling of the same promises over and over again. NPP Member of Parliament for Ablekuma West, Esther Owusu, says the government needs to get innovative.
The Finance Minister says government in 2015 will start work on another 50 senior high schools in selected districts across the country, in addition to those already highlighted.
President Mahama's pledge to construct additional 200 secondary schools by 2016, is also very well on course. Cabinet has approved a draft bill for the public university to be sited in the Eastern region, in line with our pledge to establish at least one public university in each of the 10 regions. It is gladdening to note that this particular session of Parliament will be considering the Eastern Region University Bill.
Deputy Minister of Education in charge of Tertiary, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, says the budget presentation has given the education sector something worth celebrating.
This is a budget that clearly has made education a cardinal point. You notice that President Mahama's promise to implement Article 25 of our Constitution, which talks about progressive free senior high school, in his State of the Nation address, this budget makes provision for that, and that for the 2015-2016 academic year, some 360,000 day students are going to be attending senior high school for free.
But the MP for Ablekuma West, Esther Owusu, says the gesture is not good enough.
Every government builds schools. Every government builds hospitals. Every government builds roads. What are they doing differently? And we can point to what the NPP government did differently, which improved and enhanced the livelihoods of the people. Even though we built schools as well, we also introduced the capitation grants and the school feeding program to provide quality access to education at all levels. Those are the kind of initiatives that we're looking out and listening out for. We haven't heard anything new.
In health, the Finance Minister said after 10 years of implementing the National Health Insurance Scheme, the National Health Insurance Act will be amended to conform to the new provisions.
Government continues to deliver on the healthcare needs of our people, from unexpended National Health Insurance allocation to the central budget. We continue to make significant investments in infrastructure, equipment, and personnel needs of our health sector. We have vigorously embarked on the infrastructure to expand access to health care. The community health planning and services on chips, concept remains the ministry's main strategy of bringing healthcare services to the community. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, 724 chips tampon zones were made functional.
But the minority members in Parliament were not pleased with the presentation on health either.
If the minister continues to proclaim phantom projects as projects in reality, that's what happens. That's why we have borrowed so much and we can't see what we are doing with the money. The minister mentioned that there's a regional hospital in a place called Seria in Ghana. I said I would doubt anybody here, any media person should go with me to Seria. If they even find a tree felled for the place to be demarcated, I'll be happy. There's nothing like a regional hospital in Seria.
For some of us, the chip started with us. And the question I asked those who were advocating for it is that what you want to do in your country? As of today, when people talk about the chips and ask them what is the policy on chips, they don't know. I think that we still are not clear about what we want out of the chips people, the chips compounds and the chips zones. the government must come out clear. The government must know what it is about and know what a chips compound entails, and also what the chip zones entail, and then also the kind of people that we are going to deploy to these places.
According to Dr. Anane, government needs to take a second look at the health sector and provide the general public with their most needed health services.
Government has procured 3 50-seater high-speed passenger ferries to improve passenger and cargo services along the Volta Lake, according to Finance Minister Seth Terkper. One of the 3 has already been delivered to Akonsombo, whilst the 2 others are yet to be declared at the Tema port. One other modular passenger freight vessel will be delivered by December.
The Ministry of Roads and Highways is expected to procure 200 new buses to add to the existing fleet in 2015 to help increase bus schedules on the current 324 routes and realign operations on intracity as well as rural-urban services and improve mass transport. In addition, Minister of Finance says the ministry will undertake routine maintenance on thousands of kilometers of trunk, feeder and urban road networks.
Ghana ranked 67 out of a total of 189 countries in the 2014 Global Ease of Doing Business report. It is our goal to improve this record in relation to port management. Mr. Speaker, with regards to railways, government would undertake front-end engineering design of the railway network, in particular for the Western and Eastern railway lines.
According to the minister, construction is expected to be completed on the Tetekwashi Madina, Asankwigra Inchi, Fufoso Solar, and 4 other road networks in 2015. In agriculture, the minister said government is collaborating with the private sector to increase the national buffer stock centers from 7 to 10 in the coming year.
The ministry facilitated the establishment of 2 new warehouses with a capacity of 100,000 metric tons each. To improve access to mechanized agricultural services, a total of 89 AMSECs, which consist of tractors and implements, maize shelters and water pumps, have been established in 62 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. The Ministry of Agriculture produced and exported 1.84 million and 700,000 doses of ND 1 to 2 to Niger and Gambia respectively. Furthermore, a memorandum of understanding has been signed with Niger to supply 2 million doses of the same vaccine by the end of the year.
Minister for Food and Agriculture, Fifi Kwete, said his ministry is going to take full advantage of the opportunities being given to them to ensure the agri sector sees tremendous growth.
We need to see a lot more effort towards reducing a lot of the things we can produce. He mentioned a number of things which are mostly in agriculture. He mentioned rice, tomato, poultry, and really that's what this budget wants to continue doing. This year we started a number of things. For example, in poultry, we support to the poultry sector in terms of helping to get processing facility, supporting those who are within the sector. Next year we want to continue in that same vein, but this time working poultry together with soya and maize. We want to push more production in rice and continuing reducing the amount of rice that we are importing into the country. We want to do a number of things using what you call greenhouse facilities to be able to produce more vegetables, including tomato. So really the process is on.
General Secretary for the PNC, Bernard Muna, called for some new policies to help transform the agri sector, especially when it comes to export of agricultural produce.
We should have a ministry responsible for agri, responsible for trade, and responsible for industry. The 3 ministries or the 3 institutions must come under one ministry, because as an agrarian economy, if the Minister of Agri is doing something different from what the Minister for Trade is doing, from what the Minister for Industry is doing, what it means is that you may not be able to align our production into the mainstream industrial development that we want to achieve.
Member of Parliament for Dorman East, William Kwesi Sabi, was unhappy that some promises made in the 2014 budget to provide some farmers markets in the Bono Ahafo and the northern regions are yet to be fulfilled. He said failure to re-mention this in the 2015 budget means government is not committed to helping local farmers.
So, staying a bit more on government, government in its 2015 budget is among others aiming at reducing the deficit to 6.9% of GDP from 9.5%, while targeting an end-of-year inflation of 11.5%. So, while the minority believes these targets are unrealistic, they are more worried the budget will be scrapped after the IMF program is finalized.
The specific macroeconomic targets to be pursued for the medium term are as exhibited. An average real GDP growth rate of 6.8%, an average non-oil GDP growth of 4.4%, inflation within 8% with a band of plus or minus 2%, a budget deficit of 3.5% by 2017, and gross international reserves of 4 months of import cover by 2017. Mr. Speaker, the specific macro targets for 2015 are non-oil real GDP growth of 2.7%, overall real GDP growth of 3.9%, and end-year inflation growth of 11.5%, overall budget deficit equivalent to 6.5% of GDP, and gross international reserves is equivalent of 3 months import cover.
The 2015 budget themed transformational agenda, securing the bright medium-term prospects of the economy, is hinged on the Ghana Shared Growth Development Agenda (GSGDA) Phase 2, contrary to expectations of an IMF program-based budget. Although government maintains the homegrown policies and outcome of the Century Forum are the inputs for the IMF to develop a program for the country, the minority in Parliament believes government will present another budget after the IMF program is finalized.
This year, all the targets have not been met. So whether it's GSDA2 or something, it's out of the window already. When your targets have not been met, you can't say it's based on that. It's based on the agreements they have with the IMF, which is not necessarily what is in the GSDA2. So it cannot be on that. If you missed all your targets this year, you have to revise the next year's targets. So it cannot be. Cannot be. It's based on the agreements with the IMF, which is not even fully concluded. I mean, you ask yourself, how come the IMF has been here September, we went there in October, it's November, and they still can't agree? There's a problem. The minister says after the IMF board has approved, you'll come back. So sometime next year, July, we'll get another budget. It's a waste of our time.
So
there's no agreement. It has to be scrapped because the final agreement with the IMF is not yet in place. There's a difficulty.
But Deputy Finance Minister Casey Latoforsin disagrees.
The negotiation is ongoing. We've not finished with the negotiations. And then we've prepared a budget very much in line with the Ghana Shared Growth Development Agenda 2, very much in line with Ghana's, our own homegrown. And then obviously the negotiation is still ongoing. And we are hopeful that before the year ends, we will achieve some milestones on the negotiation with IMF. So we've always made a point that the negotiation is very much in line with our own homegrown, and I believe that whatever will come out of the negotiation will be very much not different from our own homegrown. So I don't think the budget will be scrapped.
He asked that although a 3% budget deficit reduction is ambitious, it is attainable.
Very, very ambitious. This is a target. This is a budget that very much, to me, seeks to address our short-term challenges, obviously to restore the macroeconomic stability, and obviously, and again, dealing head-on the unsustainable path that in the past we've been treading. I'm saying this because we are projecting to bring the budget deficit to 6.5%, obviously from 9.5%. 3%, yes, 3% reduction is very ambitious on account that you are going to clear a raise of 1.2% of GDP. So the consolidation part is 5.3% on cash basis. That I think is very ambitious, is great, it should be supported, it will restore the macroeconomic stability sustainability that we all here are looking out for.
The Ghana Infrastructure Fund, introduced in the 2014 budget, is meanwhile to begin operations in 2015 with the World Bank and African Development Bank offering financial support. Government has also established an Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank, to make Ghana an export-led country. Abigail Adamakunchi for Joy News.
It's been a pleasure coming your way with this morning's edition of News Desk. I will bring you more details during our news today at midday. But if you want more details, you can log on to myjoyonline.com for more details of the stories and happenings in our country. My name, once again, is Gladys Osei Oredu. Join us again at midday for News Today. Thank you so much.